Shin Ultraman vs. James Gunn's Superman. Hello and welcome back to JPzilla, and oh boy am I excited to finally be writing this video. Ages ago I made a video pitting the classic Ultraman against his 70s Superman counterpart, that being the Christopher Reeve version from the movies. But both characters have undergone major changes in the decades. When I last pit these two characters together, I said that if that video went well, I would pit Henry Cavill's Superman against Shin Ultraman to see which two modern versions of these two timeless characters was stronger. And I may still do that matchup someday, but since that video came out, we got a far more contemporary version of Superman with James Gunn's. And considering both these versions have only had one film each, it would be a lot more fair a fight than the Superman who already had an entire cinematic universe under his belt. With that out of the way, let us begin. Like in the original video, we will be comparing these two characters using 5 categories of power: strength, speed, durability, battle experience, and special abilities. Starting with strength, Shin Ultraman has been shown to casually lift kaiju like Gabora. Unfortunately, the Shin incarnations of these kaiju don't seem to have any official weights, or at least I haven't been able to find official weights. But we can assume that it is a couple thousand tons heavier than the slightly smaller Showa version, which weighed 25,000 tons. For reference, the original Ultraman is 45 meters tall, and Shin Ultraman is 60 meters tall, and the kaiju have been scaled up appropriately. He's also been able to throw Mephiles, who also doesn't have an official weight, but can be assumed to be comparable or slightly heavier than his Showa counterpart, which weighed 20,000 tons. Unfortunately, unlike the original Ultraman, we don't have a ton of strength feats for Shin. Moving on to Superman, and he blows a black hole away. He defeats a black hole with his lungs. It's quite likely he could just blow Shin Ultraman over, so Superman quite readily takes the strength category. Oh, what about speed? As far as I've seen, Superman's most impressive speed feat is traveling from Antarctica to Metropolis, located somewhere in Delaware, in about roughly 70 seconds according to on-screen time, which equates to 360,000 miles per hour, or 470 times the speed of sound. As for Shin Ultraman, his most concrete speed feat, I believe, would be when he traveled from Earth to Shin Zeton in 7 seconds. Shin Zeton is currently in orbit around Earth, meaning that he is roughly 100 to 160 kilometers above Earth. This would put Ultraman at 42 times the speed of sound, meaning that Superman is shown to travel 11 times faster than Ultraman. However, this is just travel speed. If we're talking about reaction time, then I think Shin Ultraman has the clearer feat, with his being able to press the beta capsule at the exact perfect time, within exact milliseconds. It could be argued that Superman dodging Ultraman's laser vision could give him a reaction time of faster than the speed of light. But in my opinion, this isn't really laser vision. Superman has always traditionally had heat vision, which is completely different from laser vision. And while Goji Chronic argues that statements from both David Cornsweet and James Gunn calling it laser vision means it's actual lasers, my counter-argument was that they were using the popular terminology in an unofficial capacity to describe heat vision. It seems to me like James Gunn wanted as classic a Superman as possible, which is why they gave him the hypno glasses from the old comic books from the Silver Age. So my guess would be that they gave him the classic arsenal of abilities as well, which has always included heat vision, not laser vision. So for speed, travel time goes to Superman by a long shot, but I'm going to tentatively give reaction time points to Ultraman. Next up is durability. Shin Ultraman actually has pretty insane durability hacks. Shin Ultraman uses the beta system, which utilizes traveling through the Planck brain dimension in order to re-enter our dimension at a bigger mass. When Mephiles used the beta system on Hiroko Osami, not only did it turn her into a giant like Ultraman, it also rendered not only her but also her clothing completely impervious to damage by humankind. According to Akihisa Taki, they couldn't even cut off a micron of her skin tissue with their strongest lasers. We see that Ultraman only sustains true damage from beings who are either confirmed to also be using the beta system, or from a weapon which can reasonably be assumed was created to combat beta users, namely Zeton, which was created by the Ultras of the Land of Light. Considering the beta system is a six-dimensional construct, it's unclear if Superman would be able to do anything against Shin Ultraman. While it is implied that Superman could easily dispose of the interdimensional imp seen in the film Superman, it is important to note that the said imp is not, contrary to popular belief, the infamous imp from the comics Mr. Mxyzptlk. In the comics, which again James Gunn is drawing heavy inspiration from, Mr. Mixie is stated to be an imp from the 5th dimension, placing him one dimension lower than Shin Ultraman. Mr. Mixie isn't a foe that Superman can physically fight, so it's reasonable to assume that Gunn's Superman cannot hurt a being operating on higher dimensional rules because, as I mentioned earlier, Gunn's Superman is basically operating out of the Silver Age rulebook. But can Ultraman hurt Superman? Superman's craziest defense feat came when he swam in a river of antiprotons. It is stated that when antimatter comes into contact with matter, it generates more energy than the SAR Bomba, meaning that Superman is practically enduring billions of SAR Bombas from all the antiprotons and protons colliding in his body at a molecular level. And frankly, there is nothing Shin Ultraman has been shown to do which can even come close to that. So realistically, Shin Ultraman and Superman 2025 can go ham on each other all day and not have a scratch. However, it seems to me that Shin Ultraman has the clear edge on defense because of his extra-dimensional nature. So the defense point goes to Shin Ultraman. Battle experience. I feel really comfortable giving this one to Shin Ultraman straight off the bat. Superman is around 30 years old, give or take, and has only been operating as Superman for the past 3. Unlike the original Ultraman, who is explicitly stated to be 20,000 years old, Shin Ultraman does not give his official age. However, he does say that human lives are far shorter than ours, quote-unquote. And it's reasonable to assume that he has been serving the Land of Light for a considerable amount of that time. Even 1% of his lifespan would be a minimum of 200 years of fighting aliens and giant monsters compared to Superman's 3. On top of that, Ultraman has traveled the universe and different dimensions. The Shin universe is stated to have 10 total dimensions, with the Land of Light being its own dimension. So he will have faced hundreds of foes in hundreds of different circumstances across various dimensions, and perhaps even in different universes, as the multiverse is cited several times, with it being stated that aliens from all across the multiverse will have learned of humanity's capacity to use the beta system, meaning that connections between universes seems to be pretty strong. The battle experience goes to Shin Ultraman in a landslide. Special abilities. Superman is famous for his special abilities. Among these are Heat Vision, often mistakenly called Laser Vision, Freeze Breath, X-Ray Vision, and Super Hearing. Simple, but very effective. What does Shin Ultraman have, you ask? Starting with the basic abilities, Shin Ultraman can fly. He has his classic Spatium Ray, which was strong enough to practically destroy this big hill we see here. He has his Ultra Slash ability, which was able to tear the beta system using Zerub in two. He can create force shields, as demonstrated in his fight against Zeton. He can change his size, of course, and he has a super sniffer strong enough to trace ascend across dimensions. But all of this pales in comparison to Shin Ultraman's strongest ability, which I have lovingly titled the Beta Punch. The Beta Punch was an attack devised by humans to be used by Ultraman against Zeton. The humans figured out that if Ultraman activated his Beta Capsule within 1 millisecond of transforming, that he could create a black hole-like opening into the Planck Brain Dimension. This attack comes with 2 caveats. The first is that Superman has already demonstrated the ability to escape a black hole. However, that was from the very edge of the black hole, not even within the event horizon. If Ultraman were to pull off this attack, Superman would have landed himself smack dab in the epicenter of this singularity. The second caveat is that Ultraman would also be pulled into the singularity, making this a suicide mission for the Giant of Light. But the point is that, if he needed to, Ultraman can do it. Ultraman has the ultimate ace up his sleeve. So having examined each character by their strength, speed, durability, battle experience, and special abilities, who wins this? And I think I can confidently say that Ultraman takes the win every time. While Superman has the better strength feats, and arguably speed feats as well, Ultraman is essentially impervious to anything Superman can throw at him. And so is Superman, actually. So the fight wouldn't really be decided by a physical confrontation, but more so by hacks. And Ultraman is the only one who has a really good extra-dimensional hack up his sleeves. So with extreme difficulty, Shin Ultraman takes the victory at the cost of his own life. So what did you think of this matchup? I had a ton of fun revisiting Ultraman vs. Superman for a whole new era of cinema. But what did you think? Did you think my analysis of this battle was fair, or am I completely off base here? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and be sure to check out Classic Ultraman vs. Christopher Reeve's Superman, which you can click on the end screen now.